Welcome to The Next Level, conversations that propel business. The next hour is all about the entrepreneur, why they start businesses, how they make their businesses grow, how they overcome failures and achieve success. Your hosts are Bob Gibbons, founder of Riata Commercial Realty, a commercial real estate advisory and tenant advocacy firm, and Stephen Nooner, founder and CEO of Alkali, a company with a unique process that helps businesses more effectively buy and manage their insurance programs. Bob and Stephen will ask probing questions to find impactful solutions that will help take your business to the next level. And now, here's Bob Gibbons and Stephen Nooner.
Welcome to The Next Level, conversations that propel business. This is your host, Bob Gibbons.
And I'm not sure, I guess I'm the other host. I've already messed up the show, but we're just going to keep rolling with it.
Not the first time.
No, it's not. So I'm really excited. We're going to introduce, Micah and Tri Pazoureck.
Pazoureck, yes.
Yay. They're here with us. They launched Low Voltage Solutions from the dining room table, and they built it into quite an operation. Low Voltage Solutions is a leading provider of low voltage electrical installations, specializing in business automation, fire alarm, security, electrical monitoring, lighting controls, and other low voltage systems. We're going to learn a lot more about all this, but if you want to check them out, please visit lvsinc.com.
That's
Welcome.
correct. Thank you.
Stephen, you know what you get when you take an art major and put her with a engineer from Oklahoma?
A good business.
A great business.
A business with 120
Right.
employees. Can you
Yeah.
believe this?
I know.
A lot of stress.
Yeah, doesn't that description sound really sexy? Like
Yeah.
you really want to know so much more about it, right?
No.
You do. Well, we're going to, whether you want to or not. I do. So let's start off with what we call wisdom of others, and this is where we always talk about something that somebody else has said that we find to be interesting. And you guys actually gave us a quote that I like from Abraham Lincoln.
Yes.
Whatever you are, be a good one.
Yes.
Why is that important to you guys?
Because, it is important because no matter if you have a small job, a big job, even if you're not working, you have to choose to be good at life or, it's beyond just working. So it's beyond your job. It is to be good at whatever, no matter what it is. And I think a lot of times in our company, people, we're not bankers, we're not lawyers, it's not sexy, it's not something you talk about, but you still have to be really good at what you're doing. So
Well, you
did I
must be
kind of
doing
get
it.
to that
Well, you must be
answer?
doing it well because what is sexy is sales, and you guys have a lot of sales. So
I thought sex sold. So you're sexy as sales is sexy.
I'm not going there.
But before we go down that rabbit hole, fun fact, that quote actually is in the conference room of our office with Abraham Lincoln's picture.
That's great. It's also on our back porch.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
It's a pride thing.
Plaque.
It's about, if it's worth your time, if it's worth doing, do it well. Be
Yeah.
good at it.
Like grow a beard if you're going to do it.
If you're
go
gonna
all
do
the
it,
way.
go all
And you have.
Well, and I think it's something that's lost nowadays. And in our business, it's really a big problem because we're in an industry where everybody accidentally ends up, right? So after everything else not worked out, well, insurance will, And so the key distinction between really great people in our business and not are the people that once they get there, they choose it. Like, hey, I'm here. I'm going to be great.
Absolutely.
And it makes all the difference. And it's like really both sets of people have the same potential, but it's literally just a choice. So
Sure.
I think that's a fantastic quote.
Now, Micah, you said that you have that on your back porch at home.
Yes.
Why do you have it at home?
Well, it's a reminder. I think I bought it with my kids in mind, too. So in our back porch, we have a lot of eclectic things, all kinds of signs. A lot of them have to do with beer. So I wanted something inspirational, and so that it is right above.
If you're going to drink well.
That's
Yes.
exactly
The more beer you have,
You
the
know,
more inspirational you
It
are.
kind of goes with our other motto of work hard, play hard. They all just kind of go together. So
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
So, we mentioned the guests from their home. So tell us where the idea came from and how you guys, it's such a unique business, right? So how'd you guys into the space?
Well, I'll go back to like the beginning, 'cause that was one of the questions you asked before about we met in Oklahoma, waiting tables. And when I met Tri, his work ethic was a lot different back then when he's, slinging a fryer
Right.
in the back and wants to go home and brings home a $12 paycheck. But I knew there was a lot of potential there, and we really kind of connected on a lot of levels. And during our marriage, he let me venture out and do some crazy, things on my own, trying to do painting and mural business and,
Wallpaper, home remodeling stuff.
yeah, makeup, So I always kind of wanted to do something.
Always that entrepreneurial bug.
And
there,
it
huh?
a lot of times didn't work out because I think it's one of those things you go back to. Are you really passionate about it? Do you have the right connections? We had moved here and I didn't have a good network base. And so I went to work for somebody else, got into a different field. And Tri was in this field on the opposite side of where we are now. Like he was
I would have been one of our customers.
Okay.
Right.
So had worked in that field for probably 20 plus years and was ready for a change out of the corporate structure.
So give us an idea of the kind of company you were in at the time.
Yeah, I worked for Johnson Controls right out of
Okay,
college
sure.
in the building automation field as a system technician, programming control systems in high-rise buildings or schools, K through 12, higher education, for building comfort solutions. And stayed in that field, worked my way up. But after 20 plus years with Johnson, eventually moving over to Honeywell, I was kind of ready to make a change from the corporate structure. I didn't feel like we had as much freedom to do some of the things that were the right things for the client versus looking upward towards management, that we're looking at P&Ls strictly and not as concerned about customer satisfaction and some of the other things that really make this business work. So through that process and talking with her and trying to capitalize a little bit on her entrepreneurial spirit, we decided that we would we started off partnering with a client that we used to use that we had become personal friends with that did what we're doing now. And that didn't work. And so we decided that we would, rather than run back to the corporate world that would take care of me, so to speak, we would risk a little bit of our own stuff and start this business and just roll over. And we took our 401k money out and capitalized low voltage with that money. And
Oh my!
Wow.
never looked back.
That's going all in.
That
right
is
there.
all in.
2011,
scary.
about 2 years after the 2008 dip.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought we were pretty crazy for trying this.
That or you were thinking there ain't much left anyway. Just go ahead.
But back to that thing, whatever you're going to be a good one. And so once we decided that this was the path we were going to take, hindsight was no longer an option. We took the rearview mirrors off and we just started down the path. And it was the pressure that motivated us to work really hard. And
Yeah.
our livelihood was at risk through this endeavor, and so it was of the utmost importance to make it work.
And we talked right before we came on the air. I mean, you guys have kids. So how old were they at that time?
My son would have been 16. I think he was getting his driver's license right around the time we were doing this, and daughter would have been 10 or 11.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
we had college coming up for
Wow.
both of them, and it was a gamble for
Yeah.
sure.
That sounds familiar. My kids were 11 and 14 whenever I went out on my own. But I didn't do it consciously. I did it because I got fired.
Well, we had my job with Honeywell was really good. I was a regional operations manager for a 3-state area. I was respected within the organization, being looked at to do something beyond what I was doing now. And so when I went to them and told them that we were going to, change paths, they were really surprised, and a lot of people trying to talk us out of it, for the fact that why would you leave something that you're doing so well and you've got a lot of potential to grow in to take this big of a risk.
But, this is such a change in mindset. It's kind of like, when you're an employee and you become the manager, that's a huge change in mindset that you have to have. And it's not just your mindset, but it's the people that are working for you that have a huge mindset change. But somebody who's willing to, I don't know, settle's not the right word, but is satisfied working for someone else and having a paycheck versus having to go out and find it, that's a huge change.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
there's so few people that can really successfully make that mindset change.
Yes, there was absolutely no way we would have been able to do it without what I had learned through my corporate experience, running a P&L, managing costs, things like that. But absolutely, my dad had his own business while I was growing up. He was a self-employed certified public accountant. And I told him, the stress of the corporate world was getting to me. And he told me, you don't even understand stress until you start your own business. I kind of laughed tongue in cheek when he said it, but I mean, that was some of the most sound, advice or words that I got from anybody, because it was, and when I would lay in bed at night, or we would lay in bed at night wide awake, just staring at the ceiling going, what's next? I would lean back on that and go, this is the way it's supposed to be. He said there's going to be a lot of stress with this, so just kind of, take it as it is. And
Have you gone back and said you were right, Dad?
oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Had a lot of talks. Yeah.
If not, he'll hear it here.
Absolutely.
One thing that was interesting too to me that I think I'm curious of the impact on your business now. Like before even Honeywell and everything, you said that you started as what would be your client today, right?
Yes.
So, that's got to shape the way that you guys look and serve and deliver to your clients, right?
Meaning, as having hired,
been on the user end,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely. I know what I liked when I hired that business, what made them successful, what made me successful as a result of them being a part of my team.
Yeah.
And so we're absolutely able to capitalize on that.
Well, he really knows when to push back too.
Oh,
Since he knows both sides
Right.
of the spectrum, it's easier for him to go, well, they should be doing it this way. I know we're right. So.
Okay, so you decide you're going to leave that company, and I guess you said at that time, it was by that time Honeywell.
Yes, sir.
So you leave Honeywell, and you decide you're going to start this company, but you said you partnered with somebody first?
Yeah, so the company that we would hire, or one of the subcontractors that we used to hire, we became personal friends with, and he wanted to partner up. So we tried to merge together, but there were some business complications in his past that didn't let that go very far. It was about 60 days with him before some things came to light.
That's quick.
Yeah. When I got over there, the first thing I wanted to do was hire a professional CPA to come in and find ground zero for where we were, because his financials weren't in the highest of order. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was one of the areas we would be able to capitalize on. We could clean up and add some margin points to the bottom just by getting his affairs in order. Through that process, we found there were bigger issues, and so that caused me to pull out and then have to make the decision, do we want to try to do this together and capitalize, like I said, on her entrepreneurial spirit, or do I go run back to mama and get back in the fold?
All right, we're going to pick that up in a minute, but we're going to take a break right away. You're listening to The Next Level on 1190 AM Talk Radio.
Stick around.
Hi, this is Bob Gibbons with Riata Commercial Realty. If your office lease is going to be expiring in the next year or two, the one thing I would tell you definitely do not want to do is exercise a renewal option. Now, that may sound a little nuts. When you negotiate for that renewal option, why wouldn't you actually want to use it? Well, the reason is because while you want to have one as a reservation for your space so the landlord can't lease the space out from under you, that option may not actually work the way you want it to now. It may have made sense 5 years ago, but it doesn't today. The only thing that changes when you exercise a renewal option are the expiration date and the rent. But you may want to do other things like have another option to renew, have an option to terminate or expand. You may want to be able to expand now, or have a new base year for your operating expenses. There's all kinds of things that need to be considered. So we recommend that you renegotiate, not renew. For more information, contact me, Bob Gibbons, at texastenantrep.com. That's texastenantrep.com. Welcome back to The Next Level, Conversations that Propel Business. We're here with our guests, Micah and Tri Pazoureck. Did I say that right this time?
Yes.
Close enough.
Okay, close. All right, school me. How do I really say it?
Pazoureck.
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 Okay, Pazoureck. With low voltage systems, you can find them, or solutions, pardon me, low voltage solutions. You can find them on the web at lvsinc.com.
Correct.
So we're reflecting back. So
Yes.
only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership. Y'all figure that real quick, unless it happens to be husband and wives, right? So
Yes.
so didn't work out. Now you're launching something new.
Yes.
And
I'm also still working full-time for my current employer.
Wow,
So I was
okay.
in marketing sales. We needed that income.
Sure.
So I continued to work for a year or two so that we could put money into the company, because we didn't want it to deplete everything that we had while we were growing it. And that, I think that was a struggle with us trying to add some layers to the organization and not work so closely together.
Yeah.
So when the thing didn't work out with the first partner, that went away fast. You said 60
Yes.
days.
60 days.
Did your prospective customers sort of know about all that stuff going on in the background, and how did that affect your ability to get business?
Yeah, it was definitely a point of concern because it wasn't too long after I backed out, he did eventually bankrupt.
Oh, man.
And so I had affiliated myself with that organization. And so whenever we decided to do this, I had to go and meet with those clients and let them understand exactly what my involvement was with them, how long I was over there, the degree of separation and where I am now and how it all ended. And the benefit of me being in the field and then switching over and becoming a subcontractor is I knew most of the people personally, the clients that I was going to meet with. They weren't new people or people that I didn't know. I had either worked with them in previous companies. I had mentored most of them. A lot of them had worked for me at some point in my career or their careers. So it was a relatively easy process, and I had already some trust built with those folks to go in and be able to explain what had happened and how we were going to, go forward.
And so you're moonlighting and doing a full-time gig.
Yes. Luckily, I worked for people who understood, and they would allow me time off. So one day a week I would spend on our company, and then, of course, evenings or weekends, whatever I needed to do. And so luckily I worked for a small enough family-owned company that they allowed me that flexibility.
That's cool.
Otherwise,
how long was it until you made the jump over?
several years, 2 years.
2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Before we decided to put every egg in this basket.
Yeah.
Well, Stephen and I know what you're talking about because both of our wives work with us as well, full time.
Yeah.
So
and that was, being husband and wife and now being full-time business partners, we had a lot of conversations about our relationship professionally and now our relationship, personally.
Mm-hmm.
The people that we decided to go into business with that didn't work out, they were also husband and wife, and they did give us some good advice on, when you guys do start, they knew we were going to start our own after things didn't work out. When you do start, try to keep some delineation between your two involvement at work so that doesn't carry over at home. And so we structured our organization where I kind of had the day-to-day affairs with all the people, and she had a lot of the back of the house roles and responsibilities where we didn't cross over too much, so we didn't have the big arguments that spilled over into the evenings over the dinner table and around the kids.
Now, I think in your pre-interview material, you said something about you actually hired a manager that kind of is between you two. Tell us about that.
So our big overhead employee that we first hired was Connie McPherson. She was our DFW branch manager. And that was overhead is hard. And so it was a big question. And it took us a while to hire her, but it was the best decision we ever made because she really is the buffer between us. I don't know that she always likes that. I don't know that we pay her enough to do that, but she really is.
Ask for a raise now.
Right. The sounding board, she works closely with Tri on budgets and projects here in the DFW, and she does a lot of mentoring for our other branches also. And then I'm the nicer side. I think she likes me better most of the time.
Well, that's cool. I mean, it's nice that you did that because that was certainly one of my big fears. I was like, I like you at night and on weekends a whole lot better than in the office.
Right,
so if I have to sacrifice one, that's the one I'm always going to go for, right?
Right.
So let's make sure we figure this out up front so we're not jeopardizing that.
Yeah.
Just for absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it's not worth that.
And even this was way before we even hired, Connie, the conversations that we had in terms of, you'll be involved here, I'll be involved here. So we're not cross-pollinating and you're trying to do something different over here that I'm trying to do that's going to create these arguments and things that spill over into the evenings. And I think we did a pretty good job at keeping it separated.
So this is very familiar. My wife taught, and she supported us like nights and weekends. We were trying to get the thing going at the guest bedroom of our home, and the delineation we had similar delineation. The challenge that we always ran into, and I'm curious, like on your take on this, where we broke down, is we'd still go to dinner, and like we'd be driving to dinner, and you're cruising down the street, and you see like a red car, and then somehow the red car makes you think of this, and then that. Next thing you know, we're talking about like a client, right? and I'm like, man,
Yes.
how did we even do this? Like, we're trying not to talk about work.
My daughter, I mean, even now, we're going to go to dinner. She's like, "Are you just going to talk about work?" And so we have
so
to
you have no
try
secret
really.
sauce for me?
No, we have to try really hard to stop that conversation because
Yeah.
otherwise, I mean, it dominates everything.
But the fallacy to me in that, trying to separate things, is that we try to act like there's a difference between our personal life and our business life. And when you own a company, there
No,
is
they're
no
just
difference. It's
intertwined.
just all blended together.
Yeah.
We call it an off switch. You don't have the luxury of an off switch anymore, where you did when you left the office, or at least to some extent you could kind of turn it off. And if you didn't show up tomorrow, somebody else would be there to, grab the reins and keep the train on the track, which
Right.
we're to that point somewhat now, but in the beginnings, it never goes off.
Yeah.
Never.
Okay, let's step back a little bit and tell us more specifically exactly what it is that you guys do, because low voltage solutions
Yeah.
isn't going to make much sense to a lot of our listeners. So give us the
Sure.
real nitty gritty on what it is you're doing.
We're a service provider for electrical installations, and our clients are Johnson Controls, Trane, Siemens, Honeywell,
Okay.
big technology companies that specialize in building automation systems, fire alarm systems, security systems in the commercial space. So they will take a set of drawings. When a job goes out to bid, they'll bid the HVAC control system in that building. They'll see what kind of air handling equipment, HVAC equipment they're going to put in there, what kind of life safety requirements are in the building, what kind of security specifications are out there, and they come up with a solution using their parts and their pieces, their technology, their programming, all of that stuff. What they don't do is they don't do the physical installations of their systems. So they subcontract that out to electrical contractors who do specialize in that. They can take their product, get all the necessary conduit, wire, everything that's needed to install that system, go get on the construction site and install their system. And when it's ready, we let them know. They come out and do all their programming, check it all out, make sure it all works, and give the end product to the customer.
So in my past life, I used to be a landlord guy. I used to be a property manager, an asset manager for high-rise office buildings. So I've approved a lot of energy management systems. I've worked with Johnson Controls, Honeywell, all the ones you're talking about. But I never would have had any direct contact with somebody like yourself because you're kind of invisible to me. So I guess my question is, the building owner and manager is not your customer directly.
That's correct.
They contract with Johnson Controls, who then contracts with an electrician, who then contracts with you.
Sure. Or they can go through the traditional construction arm, which a general contractor is hired, who hires a mechanical contractor. The mechanical contractor usually hires the building automation contractor, and they hire us. Yeah, we're
way down on the bottom.
totem pole.
So who is your ideal client? What does that person look like?
An ideal client, and from my perspective, is one that values the quality or values the higher end systems that we can put in. We have a lot of competition from what we call small mom and pop companies, 1 or 2 or 3 people, and they can usually beat us pretty significantly on price. But they don't bring a lot of the collateral that we bring for what we do in terms of some of the deliverables, project management, updates to them, a lot of the professional end of the business versus just the installation of the pipe and wire. So an ideal client will value that and want to pay a little extra to get that. The next thing is they value a partnership. We feel like we're on the same team, and the construction can get very adversarial. And ones that stand in line with us and help protect us, and in turn we do the same with them. That makes an ideal client. And finally, the ones that pay timely.
I'm shocked you put that
So,
on the
yeah,
end.
that's
All about
finally,
the
huh?
cash flow. All about the cash flow.
So the kind of company then that's ideal. So you've shown us the psychographic kind of profile of that company, but is your ideal client the Johnson Controls or the electrician or the general contractor or all the above?
Well, we always work directly for the Johnson Controls, Siemens, Honeywell, those folks.
Okay.
We're never pulled aside from that, so we're always at that level. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Do they know when to call you guys in versus, I mean, like, how does a mom and pop even get introduced in a situation like that? I
So
mean,
there's all levels of sizes of the projects, and they're really successful on some of the smaller ones that don't require as much. But some of the larger projects, that's where we usually get called in. Dallas Cowboys' new world headquarters and their practice facility, we did that because of our size. Toyota's new world headquarters, we did that job because of our size.
Wow.
Facebook data centers out in Keller, we're Fort Worth, we're doing those because of our size. So with 130 people, I mean, that takes a whole different level of business management than running three guys and going week to week.
Yeah, you've got scale and you can get things done and
Sure.
make
Okay,
their
we're going to take
the
another
brand
break.
image.
You're listening to The Next Level on 1190 AM.
Hi, my name is Fern, and I've been an empowered team member at Alkali for over 5 years. I first learned about Alkali through an online job board and was intrigued to learn that Alkali was a Dave Ramsey endorsed local provider. But what captivated me was Alkali's mission statement, which is closely aligned with my own beliefs. So what's kept me at Alkali for over 5 years? First, Alkali's 5 core values match my own. Second, I've been empowered to use my unique abilities to impact our community, our clients, and Alkali. If you'd like to learn more about becoming an empowered Alkali team member, visit our website, alkaliservices.com. That's ALKALI services.com.
Welcome back to The Next Level, Conversations that Propel Business. We're here with Micah and Tri Pazoureck with Low Voltage Solutions. You can find them at lvsinc.com.
You just got your promotion. You got a head nod saying the last name that time.
That's right. It was good.
Okay, so we were talking about sort of your some of your projects you've done. So Cowboys World Headquarters, all kinds of other stuff, Toyota. Those are some really impressive jobs.
Really impressive, yeah.
Were you doing those from the beginning when you first got
Oh,
in?
no.
You got to
No?
start out small. Come
were the
on,
mom and
just like
pop?
with anything, we were the mom and pop. You know,
Yeah.
when we started, it was us and 3 employees. Then the next year, it was 12 employees, and then so we've grown and added the 2 branches: Austin, San Antonio, and Oklahoma City. So that brings a whole new element to things, also.
Sure.
So how did you do that? I mean, how did you jump from being the mom and pop who didn't get that stuff to being so big so quick?
So our clients aren't going to just hand us the crown jewel right out of the chute when we have 3 guys, no matter how much I ask to get it. They want us to prove ourselves a little bit and see what we can do. So they would give us the smaller projects, things that they thought we could be successful on, and we were. And we took what they gave us and we maximized those opportunities to give them the best, where they're like, man, if you can do that again here, or could you get a few more people on that maybe you could do this size of a project. So we kind of let them pull us to where they wanted to go.
Wow,
and
that's
us
great.
as the business owner, we just internally figure out, okay, what are the mechanics, what are the logistics that we have to do to be able to support that kind of endeavor. And so that's grew us from the 3 people in Dallas to ultimately around a 25 to 30 person branch here in Dallas. And then the client saying, we've got a project in Waco. We did the Baylor's new football stadium.
Wow.
And then once we did that was ran out of a customer's office out of Austin. And they asked us, would you be willing to come to Austin? And so when we do these, we usually use a landscape, what I call a skyline changing job, a big one that we can go down with a couple of our guys that are local to Dallas, relocate them down there for a few, and build a team around this new project, this skyline changer. I call it a beachhead, so we can kind of get in and get situated, and we're not having to run around and get 10 or 12 little jobs and trying to run 3 guys around. We can camp, build a team, we can revenue that job to where we can, either maintain break-even point, or maybe take a little dip, but not tank the thing while we're trying to get this new thing started. And so that's what got us into Austin, and the clients eventually took us to Oklahoma City. And so we've just been able to grow it, put a branch in, hire a manager to run it, a project manager to run all the jobs, and it's an organic thing, and it works really well. It's not flawless. It's a bumpy ride when you're trying to hire on 20 or 30 new people,
Sure.
and you're trying to vet out employees and who can do this and who can't. It can be trying, but once we get through it, it's usually smooths out, and we've been successful with it.
So what are some of the things you guys have learned? I mean, because obviously that's a different approach. We're going in here and we got to hire a number of people. And for the most part, I mean, it seems like the economy's been making the labor pool tighter and tighter.
Oh, it's tight. It's really tight.
So talk a little bit about that, because that's.
Well, I think too, when you're talking about opening these branches, is one thing we've realized is you've got to get people that are not in the right seat out of that position, and you have to not baby them. And just because you like them, you can't keep them on. You've got to make a change quicker than sometimes you like to, but you've got to move people around if it's not working. We've learned that the hard way. Kept people on that we really liked for a long time, thinking, well, let's try them here, let's try them there, and eventually you're just like, okay, it's not working. They're not growing with our structure of our company.
But the labor pool is a significant challenge right now. I mean, it's that way in Dallas, it's that way in Austin. It's the construction is booming everywhere.
Crazy.
And it's really hard to find them, and it's an employee-friendly market right now. I mean, they can pretty much command what they want, and if you can't meet what their expectation is, they've got 5 offers out there down the road. So managing that is very difficult, and we're not the only ones in that boat. Every contractor in this market is in that boat.
Yep.
So it's critical, and we have built our business and our philosophy on creating an environment within our organization that attracts the talent. They want to come work. They can do what we're doing with 5 or 6 other companies, but we want to create the environment that they're like, this is the most fun, this is the best environment. I can do it over here for 50 cents more an hour or $1 more an hour, or I can be over here where we're valued, we're treated well, we're respected, we have a lot of benefits that we give them. And we put a lot of time and effort into that. That's one of the things that we spend a lot of time doing.
That's where most of our marketing efforts go. We don't market to try to find clients. We have a lot of clients. So we really market to employees and trying to find the right people. If you follow us on Facebook, it's all about our employees. It's about the things that we're doing.
Yeah.
It's about showcasing them. It's about our environment. And that's really important. We do a lot of things throughout the year. So that our employees get to know us. They see us at these events. You know, it's personable, and we're a big family. We want them to feel that way.
What are some of those things? Because I mean, it's not just your industry. I mean, there are people
Right.
listening to this that, like, I mean, our space is the same thing. We do a lot. I mean, a lot of work around it, but we're all looking for that little tweak will take us to a higher peak. So if you don't mind.
So we have several things throughout the year. So already in May, I've already booked our family day picnic, and we invite all of our branches, their kids, their families, whatever. And we have a big pavilion at the park, and we do volleyball and catered lunch. And it's just a time for all the wives and kids to get to know each other.
That's
They
cool.
can mix and mingle with us. You know, we do games and things. We do a big Christmas party with awards, so we really recognize. We do some funny ones, and then we do some serious ones. You know, who's the MVP? What team really knocked it out of the park this year and worked together? And it's fun. We have a good time and do gifts. And then we have introduced the last 2 years coffin races.
Coffin races.
Coffin races. So in
Tell us about
Denton, we
this.
love Denton. We spend a lot of time in Denton. That's where my previous job was. So I know a lot of people in town, and I'm in a lot of different committees for nonprofits. And so Denton has Day of the Dead Festival,
Okay.
where they have coffin races. So our branches compete against each other and compete in the main race. So they really want to win the main race, but we also have our own trophy.
Okay.
And let me tell you, they're competitive. Last year, Austin, their coffin looked like a pirate ship. And their project manager, Josh, had never been to the coffin races, and he just thought it was going to be fun. And after his first run down the street, he was like, oh, we got to take that sail down. We've got to get some speed. Like, we're in it to win it now. And so it's just some fun things like that. And again, families can come and participate. We got a hunting lease this year, so that we are trying to bring branches together to go out and have a good time for target shooting or kill some hogs, you know, that kind of thing.
Do you find that the different offices, different branches kind of create their own culture that's
I
little
think they
bit different?
feed off of us and the other branches, and they do like coming together. So it's really fun to see all 3 branches get together and to know each other. And, you know, those familiar faces, they will have their own company picnics. Or they'll do a toy drive, you know, with their own branch. So they will do their own things, but it's fun when we all come together too.
do you have a local champion at each office then that's keeping a lot of this in existence? Because, I mean,
It's usually the branch manager that's
Or the
tasked
project
kind of to
managers.
get it rolling. They're
Okay.
the branch manager and the project manager are the two upper managers in each location, and so we rely on them to kind of get it together. And they're budgeted, some entertainment and meals money during
Happy
the
hours.
month for
Right.
things like that within the company to continually bring our guys together
Yeah.
outside of the work environment and get to know each other.
And they'll do that sometimes on a Saturday. They'll do a training day, but then afterwards they'll do a cookout. So, work
So it's
and
not a
play.
total lost day for them. How do you mentioned earlier that there was some times when things didn't exactly go right. Your first partner, for example, I'm sure there's been some times when you didn't have the right person in the right seat. How do you hire? What do you do when you're hiring somebody to try and make sure they're in the right seat to avoid that inevitable separation that happens if they're not?
I'll say one thing that we kind of changed, and this is within our project managers and our branch managers when they're hiring. They hire a lot more than we do. And the new philosophy is they're really going to hire for attitude and not just your skill set. So I know Oklahoma especially has done a really good job of this. When they're interviewing, if you have the right attitude and it seems like you're willing to work, they'll train you. And so that's changed a lot in the field. I think for managers and whatnot, it's a different level of experience.
When we started, you obviously want the people that help start the organization to grow with you within the organization,
Right.
and especially as the organization starts to take off. We were successful with that up until a point, but in every business, and it certainly was in ours, there comes a point for a step change, which is not just going to be the gradual up. We've got to climb this wall now to get to the next level. And climbing that wall with some of the existing folks has been a challenge. While we certainly want them to get there, not all of them are prepared to do the next level. And those are difficult conversations. We've done some successfully, but we've done several that haven't been successful. And it's hindsight on our part, understanding that, is this person truly going to be able to do this job, or do we just really want them to be able to do this job because we like them and want them to be part of the organization? So we scrutinize that a lot more now. And I've learned the lesson the hard way, and now we're letting the other managers learn that lesson. And so I can kind of coach them through that. When they bring their rock star guy in and they've got a new job they want to put him in, I can really question them really hard. And a lot of times they'll get to the point where they're like, I don't think it's going to fit. I don't think it's going to work. So then what can we do with this person to keep their career path moving forward where they don't feel like they're stagnant and they can still enjoy what they're doing? It's a challenge, one of the hardest things we do.
Do you use any kind of assessment tools, to
We haven't done anything formal on that. It's more of just the managers coming together and talking about where the guys or the girls' strengths are, where their weaknesses are. But we are going to do some outside trainings. We're going to do the strength finders for all of our upper management team to kind of start. We need to get some more of that formalized coaching with them and trainings.
And there's a bunch of others that other guests have talked about. Culture index is one we hear a lot.
Okay.
Certainly strength finders, few others, but we'll talk more after a break on 1190 AM.
Hi, I'm Carrie Martinez, President and CEO of CM Productions, a visual content agency. We tell intelligent visual stories. Two of those things you probably aren't used to hearing about from Steve and Bob.
Welcome back to The Next Level, conversations that propel business. We're talking to Micah and Tri Pazoureck at Low Voltage Solutions, lvsinc.com.
So we're talking assessments and trying to, that is a challenge when you're, I've never heard it expressed that way, but you really got to level up sometimes. I've definitely done the Peter principle. That can be really painful, especially if you have a culture of family.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because it's hard to fire your sister.
Well, that's funny because my brother runs our Austin branch. So, it's difficult.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
so then let's talk about one of your scariest risks ever, a giant project that all of a sudden hits you.
Are you going to let me talk?
Sure.
Okay. So we had the opportunity for a new data center that was coming in, and it wasn't with one of our current clients. So this was somebody from the outside, actually out of Seattle, that was coming in. And correct, right?
Yep.
Okay. And we we're going to have to double our size here in the DFW in a short amount of time. First
Double.
off, like double.
Like personnel, team,
Yes,
okay.
everything. So we were like a 30, 35-man team. Well,
Oh,
now
wow.
you're talking about exactly the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
Ouch.
but almost like a whole new branch
What year
right
is this,
here.
approximately?
This would have been
A couple years ago. It's been 2 years.
16, 15.
Yeah.
Okay, so still a very, very tough labor
Well, it's
market.
Oh, yes.
So hard and fast paced. And the company that was interviewing us, we didn't know them. They didn't know us. And you talk about going through the ringer, they scrutinized us and how are we going to be able to do this? And, cash flow for us when you're talking about starting up
Yeah.
that many people was scary. And I think that kept Tri awake at night a lot.
But it was
trying to
also
figure that out.
the stars in your eyes of what could happen, that
Sure.
makes the risk worth that reward. But what she is describing is exactly the case. I mean, doubling your workforce on a data center project, which are traditionally some of the most challenging construction builds because of the time to market that they want to have these buildings up and running. So it was a chaotic, bumpy ride. But we had a very good customer that trusted us, that understood the challenges that we were going to have to go through, and they were willing to take that risk with us because they felt the most comfortable with us that we knew what had to happen out there on that project. We didn't have all the I's dotted and T's crossed on how we were going to get from point A to point B, but we knew what needed to happen, or at least to get started and get the thing rolling.
Well, and this goes back to that good partnership piece. They wanted to be partners with us. They wanted it to work. And so we did. We worked side by side.
But they didn't
on
know
it.
you said. You hadn't worked with them
They
before.
did, and we had to prove ourselves.
They came down and interviewed
we
us.
had
We
to
did a
prove
lot of
ourselves.
phone interviews, and then they all came down to see our facility and did a face-to-face interview with all of us, and then we went to dinner. And it was through our, just the way that we interviewed with them that we were able to establish a pretty quick rapport with them.
Sure.
We could talk the language. A lot of electrical companies think they can do what we can do, but it's very specialized. It's a very niche market. And while they know how to run conduit and pull wire from point A to point B, they don't understand exactly what they're installing or why this is important or what needs to happen in what order of events. And so we have that skill set in our team, and so we were able to demonstrate that to them, and they were like, "We know you don't have the people just yet. We had to demonstrate how we were going to do that." But we know you guys know what we're trying to do, and we like that.
So let's turn this conversation away from the labor part of it and to the financial part of it, because you get that kind of a client, you have huge costs, both in labor and other things, equipment, inventory. But those big giant companies don't exactly pay every Friday, do they?
No.
It's the hardest thing in our industry, regardless of doubling your business or not, is cash flow in this, because construction terms, the way it flows through the tier contracting, we're way down on the bottom. So it's 30 days here, 30 days here. So our typical pay terms are between 60 and 90 days from the time that we've spent the money.
And I hear people are even getting stretched beyond that.
They
farther out.
they can. And so we really look hard on our clients when we're taking them. And if we have traditionally slow payers, we'll back off on doing the work with them and go work with some other ones that pay us a little quicker and allow us to be more successful.
So how did you get through that blip? I mean,
we had to have that conversation with them. Once they told us that they were interested in doing this with us, and we had demonstrated to them on a skill set side and the capability side that we could do the job, then it was another conversation. Okay, look, in order for us to do this, we're going to need some help from you guys, and we're going to need to do some advanced billings on this project to get some of the money coming in so that when we start having these expenditures, doubling the labor's paid every week in our business. And so, if I've got to pay another 50 guys, next week,
payroll.
it's going to stretch us. And they were willing to work with us on that, and we were able to get through that.
So you didn't have to go to a bank and get some giant loan.
Did not.
Wow.
that's awesome.
We do have that cushion, though, if something.
I mean, it's there if you need it, but I mean, the
there if
fact
we
that
need
you were able to take on that kind of job and not do that,
Yeah.
I'm going
that's
to cash
awesome.
in your 401k again, right? If you don't have to.
Well, I don't know if you can. We've only been in business a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So-
Well, and it's been hockey stick type growth, which is congrats. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, that's what we love to celebrate here. I mean, have you guys thought? I mean, you guys are going and blowing, and I mean, it appears that things are continuing. We're in a sweet spot here in Texas and Oklahoma. But how do you guys prepare to be ready for the alternative. I mean,
downturn.
we have a
So
downturn.
construction's going to stop at some point, right?
They keep saying that, you know. I mean, I think since I've been in this business since '95, that I mean, there have been periods, obviously, where growth is way more aggressive than it is in other times,
Sure.
but it's never gone away,
Right.
and that I can remember. And so, you know, we're somewhat scalable. I mean, we have the ability to, you know, grow, you know, expand and contract as we need to. We're by no means the market shareholder for what we do. So, I mean, there's a lot of other companies out there doing it. So if the Dallas construction market starts to squeeze, it's not like we're going to we'll lose, but we won't lose, you know, everything.
Right.
How much of your business is new construction versus doing work in buildings that already exist?
Like retrofit.
It's
fit
probably
type
60-40, 70-30 on construction being the high side of that, and then retrofit work on the other side of that.
Okay.
I mean, there's just people are spending the money to build new stuff out here versus going in and retrofitting the old at this point. I mean, there's a little bit of that, but we see, you know, more of the new construction for us.
Any advancements in technology that like you have to keep on your radar in regards to how this stuff gets
There's a
delivered or-
discussion out there, and it's been out there for 10 or 15 years, that this technology could eventually go wireless, where there will be no need for cable between a thermostat and a controller, or the communications that bring all the different controllers back to the head end. We've seen it in several different builds, but it's still not where it needs to be to take it all the way over. And I don't think, my personal opinion, that it will be that in the next 10 or 15 years. It's just not gaining
from a
enough traction.
reliability standpoint, or what
That's
I mean.
a lot of it.
Yeah.
You know, so we have communication issues, and people lose visibility of their building. They don't like that. And so if you hardwire it, you know, it's a much more robust, and it's, you know, fail-safe solution.
So what are the big risks in your industry?
The big risks is the labor market. You know, I mean, it continues to get smaller and smaller, and there's less people, it seems nowadays, that have an interest in blue-collar work. You know, most kids coming out of high school are looking for the white collar, the big deal. Their vocational schools in the high schools are going away. There's just not that focus, and that's the people that we hire, guys that want to be working with their hands and enjoy, at the end of the day, seeing what they've built. There's a great deal of satisfaction in there. It seems like society wants to move people away from that. You need to be in
Everybody's
at
gotta
a
go to
desk
college.
job. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
That's
You need to
ridiculous.
go get in
Exactly.
debt to make less than what our employees do.
Yeah.
Well, and the nice thing about your employees, if I am accurate in this, they get to work inside. I mean, it's not like a construction job where you're digging in a ditch
Oh, it's
somewhere.
hot or it's cold.
Oh, it can be hot and
so
cold, but at least they have a
it's-
roof over their head,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Most of
There's
the
some work on roofs, and you know, there are the times when it's 110 degrees outside, and we have rooftop units that we have to work on that they don't really enjoy. But I mean, for the most part,
It's short-lived.
can-
They're not
they're-
out there
they're
all
in
the
a building.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot worse jobs
Yes.
in the
yes.
construction industry that they could have.
Oh yes, that's one of the things. You know, electricians, when they see what we're doing, they don't have to run the big conduits or go dig trenches outside. They're able to, you know, run small conduits, smaller wires. It's easier work.
So what do you have to do to stay on track, stay focused?
We have to continue to deliver high quality products to our customers. With as many other competitors that are out there that are trying to do what we're doing, if we slip in that area, that we can and we have lost, you know, projects as a result of our last one not being up to par as where we needed it to be. So that's the big thing. In terms of growing the business, we don't really look to grow much more than what we're doing here in Dallas or Austin. We look for new geographies that we can apply the tactics that we did in Austin and in Oklahoma City to do. So we've been in conversations with some clients in Denver. That's a possibility. We've been in some conversations with some clients in Georgia, so there's some possibilities out there. So that's kind of as we want to continue to grow it, that's our growth strategy, is other locations, a piece of the market in other locations.
So if you were going to kind of project out 3 years from now, like what would you like to see be a reality?
You know, I get asked that question a lot, and I don't know that I know exactly where I want to go. You know, I mean, in terms of I want to be an X amount of revenue a year business. I don't know that. I think I'm more of this feels comfortable, this is good, this is we can make this work. And as long as we're presented with opportunities like that, I don't know that we have a cap or a limit on where we're going to try to go.
Especially if your clients are dragging you there. That's pretty
can we
amazing.
can we be successful over there? Can we do
Employees
what we're
want to
doing
go and
here?
help us too. So as long as there's that incentive for them to go and help us start a branch or
Because you'll relocate them from one of your existing branches.
and they
to
may
go
not
to
be
a
there
new
for a long time. They may go help and start a branch. So they may be gone for 6 months or a year from their family.
Our
you know,
Denver endeavor right
benefits.
now, we're looking at one of our guys. He's really good at building teams. That's a strength of his, and so we're trying to. We're asking him to come with us up to Denver to help for 6 to 9 months, and help us do what he's done here in Dallas up there. Get a team. I'm not asking you to relocate and become a permanent fixture in that market. Help us go up there. Help us vet out the team. Get a team built, and then we'll take it from there. You can come back and we'll take it from there.
Well, Tri and Michael, we really appreciate you guys being our guests today.
you.
For our listeners, please go to lvsinc.com to learn more about their company, and to learn more about the show, go to nextlevelshow.com.
And if you know someone that maybe is curious in this kind of work, help spread the word.
Sure, you bet.
Absolutely.
We'll be back next week with another great guest.
Have a great week.
Thank you.